Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another EU book review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Karen Miller's Star Wars, Clone Wars, Gambit, Stealth. Now just going into this, just know that this is a part 1 of 2. So this is the first part of the story, and then Clone Wars, Gambit, Siege is the second part of the story. This is one half, and this is the ending half. Think of it as a season finale and a season premiere, or think of it as a 2-part movie in the middle of a season. So this is the first part, part 1, the setup. This book was published in 2010, and it clocks in at 394 pages. So this book all is the setup for, I guess, what's going to come next. So what happens in this sort of overly grand story? The beginning starts out with a separatist attack on Cathalis. Again, they're going after the communications networks. They're hitting Grievous, and the separatists are hitting Cathalis. And again, the Jedi are responding. They're going to defend Cathalis against the separatists' attack. During the battle, they discover that Grievous and the separatists have the ability to hack into their computer systems. They basically go in flying blind because the separatists are able to override their sensors and everything on their ship, so they have no idea what's going on. They do manage to defeat the separatists at Cathalis. However, there's a large loss of life. A lot of ships are destroyed. A lot of people are killed. And they're still left with wondering, how did the separatists get into their network, and how were they able to remotely blind their ships? And that's the problem that they're looking into. That doesn't get solved in the first half of the book, but they discovered that that's something that's going on. And they also are beginning to suspect that there is a leak in the Republic. Specifically, they're starting to think that there is a leak in Palpatine's office. They don't know who it is, but they're starting to wonder, how is Grievous always ahead of them? How does Grievous know where they're going to be? How does the Separatists know their plan? So they're starting to suspect that somewhere in the Senate or somewhere in Palpatine's office, someone is leaking the information to the Separatists. They don't suspect Palpatine yet, but they're getting close. So that's the first part of the book. And then the second half of the book, which is sort of, I think, where it's going to go for the rest of the story, is that Bail Organa, once again, gets word that something is happening on a very out-of-the-way planet called Lantib. Lantib is out in the Outer Rim. It has no value. It has no technology. It has nothing of importance. It's part of the Republic, but they don't have any representation on the Senate. It's just a backwater planet. However, the Separatists have taken it over, and they don't know why. And so they started to do a little bit of digging, and Bail brings this information to Obi-Wan and Anakin and Padme, and Obi-Wan and Anakin bring it to Yoda, and they don't know why, but they begin to think that perhaps the reason that the Separatists are there is because they're building a bioweapon. That they're building a bioweapon on Lantib. So they decide that they really need to find out what's going on. So Yoda decides, against all his better judgment, to send Obi-Wan and Anakin undercover to Lantib to find out what's going on. So they go. Obi-Wan and Anakin, not dressed as Jedi, dressed as local people with fake IDs, goes to Lantib to investigate. And they find out that, yes, the Separatists are here. They find the main research facility. They find it is being run by Lok Durd, a Nemoidian. He has captured a scientist named Bantena Fernan, Dr. Fernan, and he is forcing her to work on a bioweapon. So their bioweapon suspicions were correct. So they discover all of that. And so now they have to figure out what can they do. So they decide that they're going to try to rescue the doctor, and that they have a conversation with her. It's this long-winded conversation that they have. Eventually, she begins to trust them, and she says, I'll help you. I'll give you all the information I have on the bioweapon. You can transmit that to the Republic. And they ask her, why are you doing this? You know, why is she collaborating with the Separatists? And you find out that they have all of her family and friends under surveillance, and they have threatened her that if she doesn't help them, they're going to kill her mom, they're going to kill her sisters and nephews and uncles, going to kill her family, they're going to kill everyone she's ever known. They've already killed her research team, they've taken her hostage, and they're going to kill everybody she's ever known. And that's why she's helping them, because she doesn't want all these people to die. So Obi-Wan and Anakin says, in a roundabout way, if we can rescue everybody that they have under surveillance, will you help us? She says, yes, we'll help you. I'll help you, and here's all the data that I have. So Obi-Wan and Anakin transmits that information back to Yoda. And so Yoda then decides to go on send people on a massive sort of galaxy-wide hunt to rescue these people. And one of the people that he does send, we don't see all of the rescues. We only see one of the rescues. He sends Ahsoka and another Jedi named Master Damson, who, by the way, actually has a terminal illness. Yoda sends those two to go save the scientist's mom from an Anzadi assassin who's trying to kill her. And they do wind up saving her. Of course, along the way, Lok Durd discovers that she's working with somebody, and so he confronts her. Who are you working with? I know you have a comm link, and I know they must have a comm link. Who is it? And she doesn't want to tell him, and he beats the crap out of her. And then eventually she decides that because she hasn't heard anything yet about anybody being rescued, except for her mom. Lok Durd says somebody rescued your mom, and we don't know who it is, and we don't know why. But she's the only one that the scientist, that Dr. Fernan knows has been rescued. She decides all of a sudden that, well, the Jedi didn't fulfill their end of the bargain, so I'm going to double-cross them, and I'm going to turn them over to Lok Durd, and I'm going to tell Lok Durd that there's Jedi here, and we're going to try to trap them and capture them. So that's what happens, and then the book ends with Obi-Wan and Anakin trying to rescue the Doctor to bring her back to the Republic, and they walk into a Separatist trap, and thousands of battle droids and vulture droids and droidicas and staps and whatnot, and there's a big battle that ensues. They barely make it out of the compound, the research facility, alive. And the book ends with them on a captured ground car, just barreling somewhere. They don't know where they're going to end up, but they're just scurrying to get away from the Separatists and from Lok Durd. And that's how the book ends, on that type of cliffhanger. I can't really evaluate this whole story because I only got half of the story. As the first half of the story goes, it wasn't bad. I gave it a 4-star on Goodreads because I really do like this section of the Clone Wars that we're into now. I really did like the story, but just know that this entire story is set up. The whole book is set up for what's going to happen in Book 2. So I'm assuming that Book 2 is going to have all the action in it and all the resolution in it. So where did we end up? Well, we still don't know how Grievous is able to blind and jam the Republic ships, so we're still working on that. We still don't have an antidote to this bioweapon that the Separatists have created, and they're working on that. So Yoda has some scientists working on an antidote for the bioweapon. Obi-Wan and Anakin are sort of lost on Lantebe somewhere. We don't know how they're going to survive, and we don't know how anything's going to happen. And we don't know who the mole is in the Republic that's feeding the information to the Separatists. What I like about this book, though, is that this is the first time they're beginning to suspect that there's someone in the Senate and there's someone in the Chancellor's office that's feeding the Separatist information. And they're so close. They're so close to blaming it on Palpatine, but they don't. Even though Bail himself and Yoda are starting to suspect that maybe, just maybe, Palpatine isn't as squeaky clean and as good as he says he is. They're starting to come around and think that Palpatine might be a problem. And they know that there's somebody leaking information, and they don't know who. They just know where it's coming from. So they're getting so close to where we're finally going to get to in Revenge of the Sith. But I like that they're starting to suspect the Supreme Chancellor, and they're starting to suspect the Senate, and they're starting to suspect somebody is leaking information to the Separatists, that there's some collusion going on. So I like that. That was well done, and I like the growing relationship between Bail, Padme, Yoda, and Obi-Wan, because we know where this is all going to come to fruition in Revenge of the Sith. So it's good to see this relationship between these four people growing. There's not a lot of action in this book. Like I said, it's all set up. So all the action and resolution is going to come in part 2. But I still liked it. There's just a lot of foundation laying, a lot of crumbs and trail laying. And so hopefully the resolution is as, is as good as the setup was. And like I said, this series of books, The Clone Wars, and then Wild Space, and No Prisoners, and now these two, these, in my opinion, are some of the better Clone Wars books. These books are really good. I'm finding them really enjoyable, and I'm glad that I'm sort of, I didn't quit on the Clone Wars, and then I got to read them. So I think the Miller books and the Travis books, not the Republic Commando books, but the Miller books and Travis's other books, I think are well worth your time, and are much better reads for Clone Wars and for Star Wars than some of the other ones that were there. So this is kind of a half review because I got to read the rest of the story. So far, the half that I've read, I've really enjoyed. And I'm really looking forward to where this is going and the resolution for how Obi-Wan and Anakin are going to get themselves out of this heckin' mess that they found themselves in. So, guys, that's my review of Star Wars, Clone Wars, Gambit, Stealth. A lot of titles. A lot of titles for this books, and really not so compelling covers. I think these are two of the not so best covers for Clone Wars books. But thankfully, the story inside isn't as terrible as the covers. So, guys, that is my review. What did you think? Have you read these books? Do you like these books? And do you not like these books? How do these books sit with you as far as Clone Wars, Star Wars books go? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Give it a share. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Tell those people that you suspect might be a separatist mole. We're on to you. And until next time, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I will see you in the next video.